Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for the second stimulus package for Thursday, August 6th. I hope everyone's off to a good and safe Thursday so far. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check, including we now have some sort of a deadline as far as the passing of the next relief package. I'll also be discussing unemployment, when we can expect to receive our next stimulus payment, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, give me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so I have some very good news to bring to you guys today in regards to the first stimulus package. After weeks of negotiations between the Democrats and the Republicans, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said recently that the White House and the Democrats plan on coming to an agreement by this Friday. Mnuchin said, quote, "We're not at the point of being close to a deal, but we did try to agree to a set timeline. The aim here is to reach an agreement by the end of this week. That way they can go ahead and vote on and hopefully pass the bill next week. This would be excellent news if they can accomplish that." Mnuchin then went on to say, "We are going to try to reach an overall agreement if we can get one by the end of this week, so that legislation could then pass next week." Nancy Pelosi, on the other side, doesn't seem so convinced. Pelosi did say that she was confident that they would reach a deal, but she couldn't say for sure when. However, the two sides are reportedly becoming much closer in talks to reaching a bipartisan agreement. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said, "They have made some concessions which we appreciated. We made some concessions which they appreciated." So obviously the two sides are beginning to budge a little bit. Now, it was recently reported that Steven Mnuchin and Mark Meadows increased their unemployment benefit offer up to $400 per week. Originally, if you remember, they only wanted to give $200 per week or 70% of prior wage replacement. This is obviously a huge jump in the Democrats' direction. $400 would also mark the halfway point between $200 and $600, which would seem to be a pretty logical number. However, Nancy Pelosi is still holding firm on $600 per week. Also, I find it sort of unlikely that Pelosi will want to meet in the middle here. After all, Pelosi has already mentioned that the $600 in federal unemployment benefits is sort of a red line for her. What do you guys think about this? Do you believe that Pelosi should go ahead and accept the $400 per week unemployment offer, or do you think that she should hold firm at $600 per week? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. So let's say that Pelosi and Schumer are unwilling to back down on their $600 per week unemployment offer. In that case, we already know that President Trump would also be on board with that plan as well, or at least his Twitter says so. Last week, if you remember, Trump tweeted out, "Very disappointed in Senator Schumer for blocking the temporary extension of the $600 unemployment benefits. The do-nothing Democrats are more interested in playing politics than in helping our deserving people. Drain the swamp on November 3rd. Of course, just for some context here, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer rejected a one-week extension offer of the unemployment benefits at $600 per week. So it wasn't an offer for like 6 months at $600. It was just a one-week extension offer by Martha McSally. The main reason that they rejected this one-week extension proposal is because they didn't think they were that close to a long-term extension. So with all that said, we really can't say with certainty whether or not President Trump supports the unemployment benefits being extended at the full $600 for 6 months. In an interview with Fox and Friends, Trump said, quote, "We want to get funds to people so they can live, but we don't want to disincentivize people from going back to work." So it's still a little bit unclear where Trump stands as far as federal unemployment benefits go. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said that he would support any bill approved by the White House, even if he doesn't support everything that's in the bill. McConnell said, quote, "Wherever this thing settles between the President of the United States and his team that have to sign it into law and the Democrats, a not insignificantly minority in the Senate and majority in the House is something I'm prepared to support, even if I have some problems with certain parts of it." So at this point, McConnell is leaving this entirely up to Trump, Meadows, and Mnuchin. It's very possible that the unemployment benefits get extended at $600 per week, or at the very least $400 per week. How much do you guys think they should extend the unemployment benefits for? Do you think they should extend them at $400 per week, $600 per week, or a completely different number? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. The GOP is also wanting a federal evictions moratorium through December 15th. This would be something that would be very helpful and something that the Democrats could also get on board with as well. Let's hope that they can move fast here. We definitely don't want to see anyone being evicted. It's also certainly possible that President Trump may be able to extend the evictions moratorium through an executive order. Even Nancy Pelosi suggested that as a possibility. Additionally, the Republicans have offered to spend around $200 billion for state and local governments. However, the Democrats say that the Republicans only offered $150 billion. So it's hard saying who to believe there. Nevertheless, Mnuchin and Meadows both are increasing the spending here. As far as the next round of stimulus checks go, they are definitely still on the table. The Republicans want to give each American $1,200, and they want to give each dependent, including the dependents over the age of 17, $500 this time around. The Democrats, on the other hand, want to give each U.S. citizen $1,200, and for each dependent, including those dependents over the age of 17, they want to give $1,200. So there really isn't too big of a difference between those two, so it's likely they will be able to come to a bipartisan agreement. Also, once they get this next relief package passed, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that he should be able to start sending out stimulus payments the week after this relief package passes. This is obviously very good news, and the second round of stimulus payments should be going out much quicker than the first round of stimulus payments did. Now, as far as hazard pay for essential workers go, there really hasn't been too much talk about it. The main topic of discussion recently has been sort of around the evictions and then also on the unemployment. However, we can only assume at this point in time that hazard pay for essential workers is going to be something that the Democrats continue fighting for. In their HEROES Act, they included $200 billion for hazard pay towards essential workers. So I'm expecting it's something that they're going to continue negotiating for, and probably something that we may see in the next relief package. One thing that I would also say is if we're going to extend the unemployment benefits, then just to be fair, you almost have to give something to the essential workers as well. But I guess these stimulus relief packages don't always end up being fair. So with all that said, what do you guys personally think about this? Do you believe that essential workers should receive a little bit of a boost in pay just for working during this time? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Okay, so let me sum everything up here. The Republicans and the Democrats are looking to strike a deal by Friday. If they're able to strike a deal by Friday, then it's possible they may be able to vote and pass the bill next week. The main problem here is that even if the White House, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer reach a deal, we still have many Republican senators who are going to vote no. In fact, Mitch McConnell has already acknowledged that there are 20 Republican senators that are not going to vote yes on anything. These are the more conservative Republicans who are more concerned about excess spending. Florida Senator Rick Scott is one of these senators who called these relief packages as a way to launder taxpayer money. Scott said, quote, "Here is a novel idea as we discuss the latest phase of Congress's virus response. Rather than launder taxpayer money through inefficient and wasteful federal agencies or state governments with no concern for fiscal responsibility, let's just give taxpayers their money back." So it's pretty obvious here that Rick Scott is no fan of these relief packages. Scott went on to say that once unemployment and paycheck protection funds are removed from the equation, the total spent by Congress to respond to this pandemic and help workers amounts to $57,000 per unemployed American. Scott believes that the money has been earmarked for virus relief, but hasn't been accounted for. Scott also said, "Now, do you believe that every unemployed American or any employed American has received anything close to $57,000? Of course not, because the money Congress has spent has been laundered through federal agencies, state and local governments, and new entitled programs with bureaucracies to go along with them." So that's obviously an interesting point of view there by Senator Scott. Now, with all that said, I do believe that we have a lot to be optimistic about here. There seems to be a real good chance that this next relief package ends up getting passed next week. So with all that said, let's try to remain positive. There are some very good things on the way for us. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just gonna go ahead and give a quick update on the first round of stimulus payments, because unfortunately there are still millions of people who haven't even received their first stimulus payment, even though we may be sending out a second round of stimulus payments here in just a few weeks. So if you're one of the unlucky ones who still hasn't received your first stimulus payment, then in the meantime, just continue hanging in there. I know it's frustrating. I know you just want to give up at this point in time, but the IRS is going to keep issuing out direct deposits each and every week until everyone gets paid that is eligible. So just keep checking the payment portal. The next date they're going to be sending out more direct deposits will be on next Wednesday, August 12th. Also, for you expats living abroad outside the United States, the IRS also recently noted that you should be receiving your payment by next Wednesday or on Friday, so it's either going to be August 12th or August 14th. That's if you do have a US-based bank account. Unfortunately, if you do not have a US-based bank account, it's going to take a little bit longer because they're going to have to be mailing your stimulus check in the mail instead. Also, just another reminder, if you do want to call the IRS about your first stimulus payment, you most definitely can. They do have a phone number in which you're supposed to call them, and they're supposed to be able to answer most of the questions that you have, and they should be helpful. That number that you can call would be 1-800-919-9835. Now, the one thing that I would recommend for you to do is to try calling a little bit earlier in the day just to avoid those long hold times. All right, so at this point in time, I'm just going to go ahead and answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to respond to as many comments and questions as I possibly can. And those comments and questions that I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, and that comes from Bridget. Bridget says, I still haven't received the first stimulus check yet and received a letter and a date. All right, thank you so much for that comment. So in this case, it sounds like you received a letter in the mail from the IRS saying that they probably directly deposited your payment into your bank account, but you checked your bank account and there's nothing there. So in this case, it sounds like the IRS attempted to directly deposit your stimulus payment into your bank account, but for whatever reason, the bank actually rejected the payment. They sent it back to the IRS. So at this point in time, the IRS is going to have to send you a check instead. So in the meantime, I would keep your eyes open for a check to arrive in the mail. Okay, so the next question of today's video comes from Rosabelle. Rosabelle says, what about dependents? How much? Stimulus checks. All right, thank you so much for that question. So for the next round of stimulus payments, dependents should receive anywhere between $500 to $1,200. In the Republicans' plan, they want to give all dependents, even those dependents over the age of 17, $500, and the Democrats want to give all dependents $1,200. So it's either going to be $500 or $1,200 for dependents, regardless of age, in the next round. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so, and it's a great support to me. Also, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull, the second free stock valued all the way up to $1,400, please feel free to claim those 2 free stocks by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.